This is going to be terrible.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Any one of you could speak out?
Yep, you're good.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm
Yep, I can hear you.
Shajesh. If you can let me zoom in so that you can see. I'm Shajesh. and this is physics 205A. This semester we have only one section, so this is section 001. So I'll spend some time on what the course is going to be about, basically the logistics of it, what's the expectations in the course. And to begin with, the lectures are going to be using the Zoom. All of you are already logged in. If you're hearing me, then that's how it will be. And there is some chat messages. Let's see. Let me try to see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll be a little away from the computer, so best way to ask questions is interrupt me anytime you want, just like in a normal classroom instead of the chat. That's what I would prefer. Usually I don't pay attention to that too much. So if that is okay, just interrupt, unmute yourself and do that. We will have the lectures using this Zoom platform. And this will also be recorded and it will be made available on YouTube. So that's at least from the feedback I received from last semester, that's a student seems to like going back to the recordings whenever needed and listen to it. And just the fact that it's available all the time, it seems convenient. So it will be available on the YouTube channel. Notice that it shows up as an unlisted video. That means that when you search for this on a search engine like Google, it doesn't show up. But still, it is. If anyone has the link for this, it is available to them. So it is public still. It's not completely private. Be aware of that and decide accordingly. So the decision is that yes, it will be made available to you. That means that there is a certain amount of sharing that has to happen. There is a course webpage to this. So let me go to the first. So there's a course webpage. Is this readable?
Yes, it is.
Readable?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's readable.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the course webpage, since I want to talk about the syllabus, what is written on the syllabus, if you have a browser, go ahead and type this in. .com. You can either reach there and then click on, once you reach there, you should have 4 courses showing up. One of them is 205A. If you click up, that's a web page for that. Otherwise, you can directly go and type in TC, and this is 2021, that's the year, 01, and then we have SIU and the course name. That should take you to the web page. This page will evolve as we go. Every lecture will show up there, and the homework is available there. The current homework, the quiz should be available there, and I'll talk about those things. For now, look for the syllabus somewhere in the first 6 or 7 lines. You will see a link for the syllabus, and open up the syllabus. So that's what we want to talk about today. Is that clear? Any confusion on that? Yeah, I'll assume that you're able to open the syllabus. To begin, in the syllabus, I write contact information for me. The first thing that is slightly different from the usual semester is the office hours. Office hours, of course, are there every week, but it will be available on Zoom. So if you want to contact me, the best is to contact me through Zoom. So again, exactly the same classroom, same number. I will be available there. If someone shows up, you can talk to me instead of coming to my office. That's what you might be used to earlier. Instead, you show up in this Zoom room, and if there is any need, you work with that. Of course, I'm available on email and phone also. It's common for students to ask questions, homework questions on email, and I typically discourage that. It is very inefficient to correspond on email unless it's a very straightforward answer, yes or no, or something that I'm sure will not lead to any confusions. Then I will respond to an email whenever there is a homework help needed on an email. Otherwise, the only way to go for homework help is to come during my office hours. It's just too inefficient and confusing most of the time. There's a lot of misunderstanding that happens when you talk about mathematics in an email. So that's one thing I should tell to begin with. Next, let me say about the textbook. So the textbook for the course is physics for scientists and engineers. Survey and GEO. And we will be using the 9th edition. There is already a 10th edition in the market, but we are using the 9th edition. We haven't yet switched to it. Having said that, if you have an 8th edition or even older edition, that's perfectly fine. For that matter, even if you use any other book, that should be okay. But as far as notations goes, the most matching book would be this. It doesn't mean that we will stick to the book with every section. That's not what will happen. But if you want to, the advice is if you want to follow one book, which is very useful to do, then this is the book suggested. Homework problems will be based on this. It will not be exactly from the book itself. I will be changing it a little, but it will be based on the problems in the textbook. There are also free textbooks available, not exactly by this author, but there are other books available, which is what I mentioned in the syllabus. That should also be sufficient if online versions are free. And even if you want a printed copy, typically at a nominal price, whatever it costs to print that many pages, it's about $50. You can get a free textbook. Most of these textbooks have the same contents, so that should be perfectly fine. But if you want to stick, if you don't mind spending the money, then this is the best I would recommend. About the web page, I've already mentioned. All the homeworks and everything will show up on this, including the lecture. There will be a link for the lectures. Once I present the lectures, they will be recorded, and the YouTube lectures will be collected in a playlist. So like you have a playlist for songs, all the lectures together in a playlist that turns out to be convenient. That is how you will see it as a link from this web page. So you click on the playlist, and then you will have the access to the lectures. Let's see what else. Yeah. So I should tell about how the book and the lectures come together. So, and that also brings us to the homework. So how it's going to work out is that I give a lecture. So the first step is that you attend a lecture, correct? I teach you something. And if you are able to go back and open the homework, right, and have sufficient idea of what the homework is about, even if you're not able to get it completely correct, as far as you're able to work on the homework to a good extent, that means you have understood a decent bit. And if you're able to complete the homework completely and you're perfectly fine, you didn't have to refer anywhere, not a textbook, not the internet, anything, then I would say that that doesn't happen very often. If you're able to do that, that means you're very well prepared. You have a very good background for the course, and you're understanding the material. So that's one way to check here. But most often, as I said, it doesn't happen that way. You attend the lecture, and then when you open the homework, it might even happen that some of you don't realize what is this asking about, what is this question about. That's perfectly fine. That just means that maybe the background you had, you didn't have too much exposure to certain concepts that were needed. That's where the textbook comes in. So you depend on the textbook, or for that matter, anywhere on the internet, you're allowed to use the whole of internet as a resource, exactly like a textbook. You're also allowed to talk to each other, like with your friends, with your classmates. You can even look into each other's work. It's not copying in this particular course. You can talk to each other. You can look into each other's work. If your friend has solved it, try to look at it. It's almost like looking for things on the internet. But as far as possible, write your stuff. Don't take a photocopy of your friend and submit it. Write your own stuff. Now, how does all this help you? Now, the point is you have to be responsible, and you have to track as to how much external help you're using for the homework. For example, if you have used the textbook, that is also an external help. If you have used help from the internet, that's an external help. You have to track yourself and work extra. If you completed the homework, that's good. But if you used your friend's help or the textbook or the internet for that, that means you're not yet prepared. You have to work on another problem. For that, I give some example problems from the textbook to work on, again, available on the website. You should be able to work on that. And as far as you're completely independent, in the sense you start with the question and you're able to work on it immediately, or at least you have a good enough hints as to how to proceed, then you're prepared. So track yourself. That's your responsibility. For every student with different backgrounds, amount of help you need from resources is different. So that's the response, or that's the teaching ability you have to build up, like, or teaching or learning ability you have to build up. So you have to decide how much help I'm taking and accordingly work extra. If for one problem you to complete help, that means you have to at least spend 2 hours learning that topic on your own. So that will be a big step for you guys. I'm sure this doesn't convey it completely, but as we go, if needed, approach me, and then I'll talk to you guys whenever needed. But feel free to contact me about how to interpret the amount of work you're supposed to put in. So that's where the homework comes in. Homework is not earlier, at least 2 semesters back, before these online things came up, I was using the online homework platforms where you could read the question and you get instant feedback. But this time I have switched, and it is going to be a working out homework. So the homework will be explicitly written down and available on the web page. So available on web page. course webpage, So you download it or you just look into it and you start working on it. And once you have finished your homework, you have to submit it. This is an online course, so you have to submit it on D2L. So that is a simple way of submission. Most of you, what you do is you take an image of the homework that you have taken as if you're taking a picture of someone in front of you. That's not the a most convenient way you can submit, because very soon, especially for the exam, you will have more than one page of work. If you have more than one page of work, if you take 5 images of 5 pages, then you will have to submit 5 images, and the submission platform does not allow that. That is only one file you can submit. So you need to make a PDF file out of it. Okay, so you have to find a way to scan your work. There are very simple softwares available for that. One thing I have noticed is that something convenient is Cam Scanner, but that you could also use, what is it? That's what I have used on iPhone. What is the platform? Do you guys know by any chance? On iPhone, how would you scan something? I think it's Office. What's it called?
Do you mean Adobe Scan?
Adobe Scan is another option, yes. So let me write that also. So Adobe Scan.
I use Microsoft Office. You can change photos to PDFs.
Sure, that's perfectly fine. And make sure that it is a one single file. If there are
Yeah.
5 photos, you want to be able to put it on a single PDF. That's also okay. The important point I'm trying to make here is that if you have 5 images or 5 photographs, you have to be able to submit it as a single file, and it should be PDF, suitably a PDF file. That I'm not very strict of, but it allows only one file. Try to learn that immediately, as soon as possible. You don't want to wait until the midterm exam, where the time plays an important role. You don't get it submitted, you lose points there. So make sure early on, right away in the first week itself, you have very clear, at least just for experimental purposes, take it to write your solution in 2 pages and make sure that you're able to do that. So I would say, am I able to? Yes, you guys are able to see that. So I would say, learn how to scan or plate more than one page of work. Right, so you do the homework, you submit it on D2L. The first homework is due on Monday. There are about 5 or 6 problems in it. So that's the time to try it out. But before that, we will also have a quiz. So what is a quiz about? So another thing we will have is a quiz. And now a quiz is one question, typically not like the typical problems we have in physics. It could be an open-ended question. For example, I could take some random concept, like, for example, just to make it glamorous, if you have heard about black hole, and if I feel that you should know something about a black hole, I might say, what is a black hole? So that's a very vague question. You don't know how much time to spend on. You can read books on a black hole, or you can just look up for a few minutes on the internet what a black hole is. That's also perfectly fine. The idea is just to make you think on the topic and just to make you aware of a certain topic or a certain concept. Often it is a concept. And what you have to do is you can again take help from anyone, anywhere. Typically ask that question. If you have no idea of what it is, look it up on the internet, but most of the time it is related to what we are studying. Think about it. It is the idea is to make you think and make you curious uh, about a concept, and write an answer, maybe 3 lines, right? If possible, make it as brief as possible. It is just to make you aware of the topic, and for me to know that, yes, you attempted on that. Make it very brief. I would say don't spend more than 10 minutes on that particular problem. You can think about it. The idea is to make you think and get curious. You should get curious and do whatever with that. But just for the sake of the homework, don't spend more than 10 minutes on that. So that's the goal. So there will be a quiz available, and I will try to make it available in a file so that it's easy to access. But that is due before every lecture, right? So due before every lecture. And it's due 5 minutes before that, but preferably don't wait until the last moment. Usually, even if you don't know anything about what I'm asking, you can say that I looked up, I tried to look up, I did not find anything, but this is the limited things I could gather. So try to write something down. The correctness is not the point. So the way to say it is that I won't look for how correct your answer is. I will look for whether you attempted on it or not. And if you write something interesting, that's nice to read, but even if it's not interesting, don't hesitate to write something down. And I'll come back to this. This plays an important role. There will be a curve for this course, and that curve depends on this quiz. And we will come back to that point later on. There will be midterm exams. There will be 3 midterm exams for this during the semester every 4 weeks. So we will have a homework every week, quiz every day, homework once in a week, and midterm exams once in a month. So there are 4 months approximately 4 months in the semester. So every 4 weeks we have an exam, and the 4th exam would be a final exam. They are equally distributed. Each exam, including the final exam, is 15% of your points. Homework weighs very largely. It's about 30%. And it will also happen that often I provide the homework solutions for you. The main idea is that homework is a way to learn. So often you will notice that one day before the homework is due, the homework solutions show up, but that is okay. That is being intentionally done so that if you have worked on it, you have a way to check on it and you don't lose points on it. So it should be very easy if you're disciplined. It should be very easy to score very high on the homework and the quiz. Midterm exams, on the other hand, it will come out hard, basically because you won't, actually there's a small difference that typically in a normal semester, the midterm exam happens in a classroom. Like a normal exam, you cannot take help. But since this is an online course, the midterm exam will be pretty much like homework. You can again refer to your class notes, refer to anywhere, including the internet, but you cannot talk to each other. Okay, so you don't talk to each other of your colleagues, but you still have access to all your notes and others. But still, I have noticed that students do not do very well in the midterm exams, unlike the homeworks. For various reasons, midterm exam comes out to be hard. In the last semester, there was a similar course I taught, and the highest points came out to be about 90 to 92. About 4 students in a class of 50 plus got about 90. So midterm exam come out a little harder to score, but homeworks are very easy to score. So they kind of compensate together, and the grading comes out to be like a normal course. So that's something for you to be aware about. And I will talk, I'll get a chance to talk about this more as we go into the semester. About the evaluation, oh, should see, is that, as I said, homework is 30% quiz, is 10%. This is every lecture once in a week. And then we have midterms, which is 45%, which is 3 into 15 each. So that will be 3 midterms, and that is a final exam. And that's 50. Let us say that by the when I have to calculate an overall grade for you in the semester, you attempted on all the quiz. If you're very disciplined with submitting all the quiz, you should get full points, right? Because it's just for attempting. I don't check for the correctness of it. Convert that into one. Let us say you got 0.5 or 0.8 out of 1. So you got 80% of all the submissions due. That plays an important role. Let's call that. So let's call this number y there. And how does it work? Let us say you, after you have finished all this, you have a score of about 70 out of 100. So that's 70, and this is out of 100. That means that let's call that grade X. That is what you earned. But how I will curve this is, I will define a prime quantity. That is what will be your final grade. That will be X plus. So I add something to what you already have. And that is decided by how much points you have lost. So if you lose a lot of points, you seem to gain. But notice that you don't want to do that to begin with, right? So if this was the formula I used, everyone will get 100, right? X, and whatever you lost, I return it back. Everyone gets 100, but that's not what I do. Instead, I give you a percentage of what you have lost. So that's what I will call A. Like, for example, this could be, I could decide that I give you 20% of whatever you lost. Right? So in this case, you have lost 30%. So you multiply 30 multiplied by 0.20, so that will be 6 points. So you're eligible for 6 points that you get back from here. But to get all those points, you have to have a full points here. I multiply this with a y in there. That means to say that if y was a 1, then you get back all the points that I'm returning you back. But if you don't have full points in the quiz, then you don't get it. That's a way for me to assess as to how sincere you are. Typically, quiz is all about, you just have to be sincere every day. You go back home, and if you're opening the textbook and thinking about the course, that's good enough. And if you're submitting this, you get a full, all the points that is allowed to get back on that. So that's the way the curving of this course will work. And as we go, this will get clearer. I might have talked a lot of things at this point, but it will be straightforward. And you will see that there is a periodicity to this. Every 4 weeks, we sort of do the same thing. So that's pretty much what I have, I guess. Any questions you have for me, or you think I have missed something? Something specific?
So how frequently are you going to be updating grades, and are you going to be putting them on D2L or?
Yes, all the grades will be on D2L because it is password protected. The website I'm talking about is not password protected. All the grades will be on D2L. The quiz, the quiz most probably I will be grading because I want to know how you what you're writing and so on, and it's usually easier to grade. Expect so every 24 hours to 48 hours, quiz will get updated. When it comes to homework, we will have a teaching assistant who will be grading it. So that also brings to the point that when you're writing a homework or an exam, you're not addressing it to me. Like there might have been a notation that's being used in the classroom, but the teaching assistant may not know about it. So make sure that everything is clear. You don't assume that, oh, the teacher knows this, what I mean. So you're talking to a teaching assistant when when it comes to the grading part. So teaching assistant will be grading. Typically, they take more time. Homework expected to be graded in, let's say, 4 days or so. That's the way. Usually they prefer to do it during the weekend. That's another way of looking at it. So wait for the weekend. Exams, usually there is a sharing, a little bit I do, and some part of it the teaching assistant does it. Again, weekend, look for the weekend. If it is on a Monday, then it will get graded on the next Monday. But if the exam is on a Friday, most probably it will get graded within a few days. So that's the way to look at it. But as far as on an everyday basis, quizzes should get graded pretty much as soon as possible. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? I see there is some activity on the chat. Oh, there's 17 chat messages. I think you guys are talking to each other, I suppose. Yeah, but ask me if you have, I'm not looking at I'm not following the chat. Anything else you can think of?
So someone asked in the chat that there is a WebAssign access code that the bookstore said they needed. Is that incorrect?
No,
or?
I'm not using WebAssign this semester. The bookstore probably uses the information from probably 2 semesters back or something. That is how it goes, and that is what it is. So I will be giving the homework as a separate paper homework. But that actually brings down to the question, is there an overwhelming view on WebAssign? Because when I have taught it before, last time I taught this course, the Physics 205 was 2018 spring. Not everyone was excited about paying for WebAssign. So that was one of the concerns I had. There were a good number of people who thought that there was an extra payment being made to.
Yeah, I have negative experiences with a WebAssign in the past, that's for sure.
It was not a good experience, or it was a good experience?
It was not a good experience.
Okay, so yeah, so I think my decision based on that was that if I am making the homework, it will be a lot more aligned with what I'll be asking in midterm exams. If I use WebAssign, the only challenge is that they have specific questions already designed, and I only go and select them. So the questions that is there in the homework, even though very similar, the style of questioning is slightly different because I design my questions for the midterm exam, and there are questions in your homework. The same physics, but just the style changes. So when you're learning, apparently students are a little sensitive to that. So that was one of it is more work on my part, but I thought since anyway, this is an online course, there is a significant amount of extra work being done. So why not do this also? So that was my decision. So if that, but anyway, the decision is taken, but I will be open for feedback. It may not change this semester, but yeah, it might benefit people in the future semesters. So that was my rationale for choosing normal homework. The grading gets delayed, but remember that I will be preparing the solution for it before the homework is due. So in a sense, you don't lose points. The feedback is there. So you will be able to see a solution. I will be preparing a solution, a video solution, and it will be available before the homework is due. So pretty much you have things in your hand. But be responsible. Remember what I said before. How much help you take decides how much work you have to put in, extra work you have to put in. If you're not taking any help, that means you can be confident that you're prepared for the exam. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments on WebAssign or anything? Yeah.
So just so we got this correct, our homework and quizzes will be on your website instead of D2L?
That's correct. Most of what you need for this course will be in one place in that website. So usually we have a physics web server for this, but during the pandemic, it crashed. So on one fine night, it was April, I had to move the whole thing to this website that I'm mentioning. We have the web server, physics web server going at this point, but the challenge is that it is accessible only from the campus. So it doesn't really serve the job. So that was basically due to the phishing attacks that came up during April. So, but it works fine. And I've heard that it is convenient for students because everything is on one page. And I try to update it as you proceed. And I think I have not heard any complaints about that or any inconvenience based on that. But the grades will be on D2L. I have to because it's password protected. This is a very simple website. Does that answer the question? Clarify?
Would it be possible? I was just typing in the website and it's not coming up as anything useful for me. It's like a blank page. Would it be possible to like send the link or an email or something?
Can anyone of, is there anyone else who has the same problem? Could anyone type in the link?
It's on the course homepage already, so just
Where, because I looked on there and I didn't find it. Where exactly did you see it?
Yeah, there you go. That's the link. I think
I sent a link in there. You could copy and paste or just click right on it.
I recommend you bookmark it on your web browser.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good. I've also heard from others that students like to make a group among themselves and talk about what's going on in the course. Feel free to do that. I don't want to intervene. I can always start such a group, but I thought students like to have their own privacy, and probably you guys have better platforms or that I'm not even aware of. So feel free to do that. Perfectly fine.
Is our quiz for Friday already on the website?
Yes, it is. Again, you should be able to, if you just go to the bottom, week 1 to 4, I think it says it should be available there. And what I've decided is that I'll collect all the quizzes in a single file. But again, the links will again show up whenever we are working on a particular topic, but it'll all be in a single file. No need to write separate files for that, I suppose. Someone said we could make a snap. I think you're talking among each other, right? So I don't want to, yeah. So as far as groups go, I think you guys manage that. I think you guys are better at that. Any other questions?
Professor?
Yes, please.
Do you have a Snapchat?
I don't have, but I can start up. Yeah. You want me also in the group? Yes, sure. I can join in. I look up. I've heard about Snapchat, but yeah. So if you want me in, I'll be glad to join and see what's going on. It'll be an experience for me also. But I don't have Snapchat as such, but I will find out, and by next lecture, I'll figure it out. Is that good? Is that what you'll prefer? Is that the proposal? No one replied. I couldn't hear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, how about this? I will. You're free to invite me into it, but if you want the privacy, that's also perfectly fine. Sometimes you want to complain about the professors also. So that's, yeah, feel free to invite me on whatever platform you're. I'll try to load the particular app and get in there, whatever is needed. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? 10 more minutes. I can do a little bit of what's needed for the homework.
So for the homeworks and quizzes, we can also take some help from the formal lecture notes, right? From the previous
Yes.
semester?
Yes, that's also previous semester. Where do you see the previous semester? If you have it, yes, sure.
I mean, you already put a link in the website
yes.
for that?
Yes, yes, that's correct. Yes, that's a typed version of the notes. Yes.
Yeah, so instead of book, we can also use that, right?
That's perfectly fine. You should decide what is best for you. The book is the most comprehensive one, but I have noticed that many people survive based on the, what I have done is that based on whatever notes, lecture notes I prepared earlier, I collected them together, typed it up in complete sentences, and it's about a 70-page document. And that's a minimal version of a textbook. And many people survive on that. That's perfectly fine. With the internet resource that you have, that's more than, I would say not more than enough. That's good enough. Again, if you're able to do all your homework perfectly well, that means you're prepared. Then you don't need any help. Then this is good enough. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Okay. So in the last 7 minutes, maybe I'll do a quick teaching of dimensional analysis. Okay, so it's only 7 minutes, but still I think it's a relatively small concept, and maybe you will be able to attempt on a few of the, maybe a first problem or something. Okay. Okay, so this is dimensional analysis. Now, this deals with, we all know that most of us, if we have reached this topic, we should be knowing how to add numbers. It cannot be anything simpler than that. So let's say 3 plus, let's say 5, right? So that's equal to 8, right? That's a basic, like you'll ask, come on, it cannot get easier than that. So what do we do in physics? That this gets a little, we go one step ahead of this. We add physical quantities. So that means to say that you add distances. So this is 3 meters. M here stands for meter. Right? So you add 3 meters plus 5 meters is equal to 8 meters. There's a slight difference between the two in the sense that this comes up with some unit, right? So there's a meter unit in here. This could be a second, this could be a kg. 3 kg plus 8 kg is equal to 8 kg. So this could be 3 kg plus 5 kg is equal to 8 kg. But what you cannot do is 3 kg plus 3 meters. That you don't do, right? That's what is the essence of dimensional analysis. This is no, right? You don't do that, right? So what does that mean? Why am I talking about this? Let's say you have an equation, and you still can't see that, right? Yeah. So you have an equation. Let us say F is equal to MA, and you have no idea of what F stands for, or M stands for, or A stands for. But what you do know is that since I can only add and subtract like quantities, That means whatever is the unit on the right-hand side, whatever is on the right-hand side, the unit of this has to be the same as the unit on the left-hand side. So dimensionally, so you say that dimensionally they have to match. Sometimes it gets different. Let's say there is another equation that is VT plus half AT squared. Now notice that we earlier said that if you are adding two different quantities, they have to have the same unit. Now you apply this to an equation. What that means is that the dimension of the first term has to be the same as the dimension of the second term, and it has to be the same as the dimension of the third term. So dimensionally speaking, unit-wise, even though there is a plus, so now the notation here is that this is x. This means dimension. So there is a language here, there's a notation here, square brackets, and the physical quantity in between reads dimension of that physical quantity. This means dimension of x has to be the same as dimension of v times t. Now notice the difference. Algebraically, this was a plus, but since dimensionally they are the same, I'm saying this is equal. Notice this is plus, but this has become an equal sign here. This is half AD squared. Okay, so that's dimensional analysis, that if this is a meter, that has to be a meter. That is also a meter, and that means that dimension has to be the same. The plus became an equal sign, and from that you can learn a lot, right? If you know that the dimension of x is length and dimension of t is time, then you can talk about v, right? So if I go from here, let me change the board space a little. So here I can say dimension of x is equal to dimension of v, so they distribute. So I'm distributing the dimensions, so I know that dimension of x and t. So you can say dimension of v is equal to dimension of x over dimension of time. So if you know that this is measured in meters and this is measured in seconds, then you know that the unit of v, whatever in this case, it turns out it is a velocity, then it is meters per second. So you can learn something about units just based on an equation. But what comes out a little confusing for most of the students is, how did this plus become an equal? Notice this plus became an equal because these two quantities physically are measured using the same units. That's one of the concepts you will need for working on the homework. We'll come back on Friday and do this more rigorously so that you can actually do all the homeworks properly. We will also do a little bit on significant figures so that you have a reasonable idea of how to use them earlier on. But I'll be doing very quickly. All this comes from the first chapter of the book, or most of the textbook deal it in their first chapter. And then we will start working on the motion, the actual physics part of it, we will start in the second chapter. So I'll stop here at this point, and thank you, and see you on Friday.
Is there a quiz due before Friday?
Yes, there is.
Yep.
It is available on the webpage.
Yep, thank you. All right, have a good day.